My water broke in the middle of the quarterly board meeting. I felt it happen. Warm, immediate, undeniable. Minho was presenting the investor deck. 12 board members, wall of glass overlooking Seoul's financial district. High-stakes deal closing in 48 hours. His private security stood by the door, earpieces, expensive suits. Everyone knew they weren't ordinary guards. I gripped the mahogany table. Minho. He didn't even look up from his presentation. Minho. The baby. His jaw tightened. 12 faces turned toward me. He looked at his watch, then at me, then at Ji-won. His VP, his mistress, sitting 3 seats down in her designer suit. We're in the middle of a $70 million negotiation. I'm in labor. Then handle it. His voice was ice. I have investors waiting. The room went silent. I was the only black woman in that boardroom. His wife, his corporate counsel, the American lawyer who'd structured every international deal for 3 years. And he was choosing a presentation over our daughter being born. Ji-won smiled. Just slightly. That's when I knew. This wasn't about the deal. This was about power. I stood. Water dripping onto imported carpet. Okay. I walked out. That was my first mistake. Thinking okay meant I'd forgiven him. I made it to the elevator before the contraction hit. 5 minutes apart. I called my driver. Gone. Minho had sent him somewhere, probably to Ji-won. I called a cab, waited in the lobby, bleeding onto marble floors, security pretending not to see, the black American wife. The one they whispered about, the one who doesn't understand Korean culture. The one Minho paraded at international meetings to show how global his operation was. Quantum logistics moved more than cargo. Everyone in Seoul's underworld knew that. No one said it out loud. Minho didn't shout often. He didn't need to. Men disappeared from deals after disappointing him. Quietly. Completely. His empire had boardrooms on paper and backroom agreements underneath. And I'd been too useful to see it. That's when I pulled out my phone, scrolled through the board presentation I'd helped prepare, and saw it. The shell companies I'd incorporated last month. The ones Minho said were routine tax structures for international operations. They weren't routine. They were money laundering. And my signature was on every filing. 3 years of late nights, of trusting him when he said, "Just sign here, you're my wife." He'd made me complicit. Another contraction. The cab pulled up and I made a call I swore I'd never make. Dad? I had my daughter alone. 4:47 a.m., Seoul Maternity Hospital. No husband, no family. Just nurses who kept asking if your husband is coming, in broken English. He wasn't. Minho sent a text at 6 a.m. Deal closed, coming soon. He showed up at noon, 12 hours late, walked in with coffee, designer suit, smelled like Ji-won's perfume. 2 security guards waited in the hallway, always there, always watching. It's a girl? Not, are you okay? Not, I'm sorry. Just confirmation of gender. I looked at my daughter, perfect, tiny, brown skin, mine. Her name is Zuri. I was thinking something Korean, for business connections. That's when it clicked. He didn't want a daughter. He wanted an asset. Get out? He blinked. What? Get out of this room. Get out of this hospital. Get out of our lives. Simone, you're emotional. I'm clear. For the first time in 3 years, I'm completely clear. The door opened. My father walked in, and Minho's face went pale. Because every man in international finance knew that name. If you've ever been used by someone you trusted and walked away, subscribe. This story is for every woman who chose herself over someone who saw her as a tool. Julian Reed hadn't aged. 68. Still built like he could run a marathon. Silver hair, sharp suit, eyes that read people like quarterly reports. Wall Street legend. Built 4 companies from nothing, sold 3 for billions, kept 1 that revolutionized financial technology. Every man in global finance knew Julian Reed's name, Not because he shouted, because he acquired companies the way other men bought cars. Quietly. Completely. Permanently. Minho recognized him immediately. Julian Reed. Minho's voice had changed. Respectful. Careful. Almost afraid. You must be the husband who missed the birth. Mr. Reed, I didn't know Simone's father was alive? Interested? Wealthy enough to matter? Julian walked to my bedside, looked at Zuri. She's perfect. She is. And he missed it by 12 hours, had a deal closing. Julian's expression didn't change, but something shifted. Minho felt it, stepped back. Mr. Reed, I can explain. I'm sure you can. Men like you always can. Julian pulled out his phone, made a call. It's me. Move up the timeline. I want it done by Friday. He hung up, looked at Minho. You should get back to your office. Big week ahead. Minho left, confused, uneasy, but too proud to ask questions. His security followed him out like shadows. My father sat in the chair beside my bed. When did you figure it out? The shell companies. About an hour before Labour. He used you? Yes. Made you complicit in moving dirty money through clean structures? Yes. Do you want revenge or justice? I thought about this. Revenge was emotional, personal, satisfying but temporary. Justice was systematic, legal, permanent. Both. He smiled, actually smiled. That's my daughter. He pulled out a tablet, showed me corporate filings. Minho's company. Quantum Logistics. Revenue looks impressive, but debt structure is precarious. He's selling 30% to foreign investors Friday. Deal values company at 200 million. I know. I drafted the term sheet. Good. Then you know the investors are represented by Arcturus Capital. Cayman Islands Fund. Anonymous ownership. Not that anonymous. He turned the tablet toward me. I am Arcturus Capital. Have been for 6 months, and Friday, I'm not buying 30%. He zoomed in on different documents. I'm buying 51%. Controlling interest. You planned this. I've been planning this since you called me crying 2 years ago saying you'd married him. You asked me not to interfere. I respected that. Until he disrespected you. Julian stood, looked out the hospital window. Men like Minho think power is volume, intimidation, security teams in hallways. They think if they control enough people through fear, everyone will fall in line. He turned back to me. They're wrong. Real power is quiet. It's signing the right papers, calling the right people, being patient. Why didn't you tell me? Because you needed to see it yourself, that he was using you, that you deserved better. He sat back down. I can destroy him Friday, legally, publicly, completely, but I need you to decide if that's what you want. I looked at Zuri, sleeping, perfect, born into a mess she didn't create. I thought about Minho's face when he saw me in labour, the calculation, the dismissal, the way he chose G1, the deal, his image. Everything except us. Destroy him. Julian nodded. Consider it done. The next 3 days moved fast. I recovered in a private suite. Father's money, best doctors. Minho visited once, 30 minutes, took photos with Zuri for social media. Family man. International leadership. Global vision. His security waited outside. Always there. Left without asking how I felt. G1 posted on Instagram that night. Her and Minho at dinner. Caption. Celebrating success with the best team. The comments knew everyone always knows. Friday morning I was discharged. Julian sent a car, driver, security, infant car seat already installed. A nanny met us at the car, professional, kind, vetted. Where are we going? Your husband's office. The closing is at 10 a.m. You're attending. As what? General counsel. For Arcturus Capital. He'd had business cards printed. Simone Reed, JD General Counsel and Special Advisor. My maiden name. You're officially employed as of Monday. Salary is 2 million annually, plus equity. Dad, you earned a law degree from Columbia, passed the New York bar top of your class, passed the Korean bar after that. You're not charity, you're an asset I'm lucky to acquire. I looked at Zuri and her carrier. Let's go to work. Quantum Logistics headquarters, 43rd floor, glass and steel. Minho's kingdom. I walked in wearing a suit Julian had sent. Stella McCartney. Navy. Professional armour. Zuri's safe with the nanny in a private room downstairs. Baby monitor clipped to my briefcase. Security tried to stop me at reception. Mrs. Kang. Ms. Reed. I'm here for the Arcturus closing. They checked the list. Saw my name. Let me through. The conference room was packed. Minho at the head of the table. Ji-won on his right, board members, lawyers, investment bankers, his security team outside, earpieces, watching, and my father, centre of the opposite side, calm, waiting. Minho's face when he saw me, confusion, then anger, then something worse, fear, because he'd done the math. Simone Reed, Julian Reed, Arcturus Capital. What is she doing here? Ms. Reed is my general counsel, Julian said calmly. She'll be handling legal review and signing on behalf of Arcturus. This is a conflict of interest. Is it? I sat down, opened my briefcase. I no longer work for Quantum Logistics. I resigned yesterday, effective immediately. I slid him the resignation letter. Legal, final, be honest. Should she destroy the empire he used to trap her or walk away quietly with her baby? Comment Team Simon or Team Min Ho. The presentation started. Investment banker walked through terms, 30% equity, 70 million cash, standard deal, except it wasn't. Julian waited until the banker finished, then spoke. I'd like to propose an amendment. The room went quiet. Arcturus Capital is prepared to increase our investment to 140 million. In exchange, we're requesting 51% equity instead of 30. Minho's face drained. That wasn't the agreed term. The term sheet included provisions for renegotiation based on due diligence findings. I pulled out documents. During our review, we identified several concerning financial irregularities. I laid out 3 folders. Shell companies incorporated in Cayman Islands, Delaware, Singapore. Funds moving through structures designed to obscure origin and destination. Every board member leaned forward. These companies were incorporated by Quantum's legal counsel. That would be me. Under false pretenses. I was told they were standard tax optimization vehicles. I opened the first folder. They're not. They're money laundering infrastructure. And I've provided full documentation to the Financial Services Commission and the FBI. Minho stood. This is true, Julian finished. Every word. Sit down. Minho sat. The board erupted. Questions. Accusations. Panic. The chairman banged his gavel. Mr. Reed, what exactly are you proposing? Simple. Arcturus acquires 51% controlling interest. I install new management. Ms. Reed becomes general counsel, reports directly to me. We cooperate fully with regulatory investigation. And if we refuse? Then Arcturus withdraws. Your funding falls through. And tomorrow morning, every regulator in Seoul and Washington receives the same documentation. Your company faces criminal investigation with no capital and a CEO who created the liability. Julian leaned back. Or you take our offer. Get 140 million in clean capital. Keep your company alive. Possibly save your own reputations by cooperating early. Silence. The board members looked at each other, then at Minho. His reputation had always been his armour. The quiet man whose logistics empire moved things no one questioned, whose security teams made people nervous. But now that reputation was liability. We need to caucus, the chairman said. You have 10 minutes. They filed out. Minho stayed seated, staring at me. You did this. No. You did this. I'm just the one who documented it. I checked the baby monitor. Zuri sleeping peacefully. The nanny reading beside her carrier. My daughter. Safe. Protected. Everything I was doing was for her. The board came back in 8 minutes. Unanimous vote. Approve the amended terms. 51% to Arcturus Capital. Controlling interest. Julian Reed now controlled Quantum Logistics. The documents were signed. I signed for Arcturus. My name, my authority, my choice. Minho signed as CEO for the last time. Because the first item of business after closing was board resolution. Julian proposed. The board voted. Minho was removed as CEO. Effective immediately. Interim CEO appointed. One of Julian's people. Minho sat there. Everything he'd built. The empire that moved cargo and cash, and things people didn't ask about, gone in one vote. You can't do this. I just did, Julian said calmly. You'll retain your equity, 5%, fully diluted. Worth about 10 million at current valuation. I built this company. No, your employees built it. Your lawyers structured it. You just put your name on everything. Julian stood. Security will escort you out. You have 1 hour to collect your personal belongings. Miss Ji-won, Julian said. A word? She stood, terrified. Your VP of Operations. Are you implicated in the financial irregularities? She looked at Minho, then at Julian, choosing. No, I executed transactions as directed by the CEO. I have documentation showing I raised concerns about certain structures. Those concerns were dismissed. She slid a folder across the table. Emails, dated, time-stamped. You kept records, Julian said. I keep records of everything. Smart. Self-protective. Then you're not fired. You report to the new CEO as of today. We'll need your cooperation with regulatory review. Of course. She gathered her materials, walked past Minho without looking at him. He grabbed her arm. You're really going to... Let go, she said coldly, or I'll add assault to the list of things I'm documenting. He let go. She left. Minho's own security escorted him out. The men who'd stood outside every meeting, who'd made people nervous in hallways. They worked for the company now, not for him. And Minho finally understood. Nobody was loyal to him. They were loyal to power, and he didn't have it anymore. Security escorted Minho out. Julian and I stayed in the conference room. I went to the private room downstairs. Held Zuri. She was awake now, looking at me with perfect dark eyes. How do you feel? Julian asked when I returned. Empty, but good empty. You did well. The legal documentation was flawless. We packed up. What happens to him now? Regulatory investigation. 6 months. If prosecutors find intentional fraud, he faces charges in Korea and the US. If not, he walks away with damaged reputation and 10 million that will disappear in legal fees. And me? You start Monday? General counsel. Restructure legal department. Cooperate with investigation. I have a daughter. I know. You'll have a nanny, daycare, whatever you need. I'm not asking you to choose, I'm asking you to build both. I looked out the window. Seoul skyline, glass towers. I'd thought marrying Minho gave me access to this world. I was wrong. I'd always had access. I just needed to take it myself. See you Monday. See you Monday, counselor. Minho tried calling. 63 times the first week. I blocked him. He showed up at my apartment. New security turned him away. Julian had upgraded my building. His lawyers sent letters. Mine sent better ones. He threatened custody. My father's legal team buried him. Eventually, he stopped. Ji-won was promoted to COO 6 months later. She sent a note, professional, brief. You showed me what choosing yourself looks like. The regulatory investigation concluded. Insufficient evidence for criminal prosecution in Korea. Minho had been clever, but the FBI wasn't finished. Civil RICO penalties. Asset forfeiture. His 10 million equity, worthless after dilution and legal fees. He sold what remained for 2 million, moved to Singapore. Last I heard, he was consulting, diminished. The empire that once moved cargo and cash through Seoul's shadows, restructured, legitimate, clean. Julian installed proper oversight, compliance, transparency. Quantum Logistics became what it should have been. A real company, not a front. I worked 12-hour days, rebuilt legal, hired 5 attorneys, all women, all brilliant. 2 black, 1 Korean, 1 Latina, 1 white. Zuri thrived, nanny, daycare, evenings with me, weekends with Julian. She called him Papa Julian. He spoiled her, loved her, made up for the years I'd kept him away because Minho said, "Your American family doesn't understand our world." 2 years later, Julian called me into his office. "I'm retiring." I stared. "What?" 70. "Time to spend time with my granddaughter." "But the company needs a CEO. I'm recommending you." My heart stopped. "Dad, I'm 32. You restructured legal, navigated international regulatory crisis, turned Quantum from liability into asset, revenue up 40%. You're ready. The board already voted. Unanimously, you start next quarter. CEO of a company worth 300 million, at 32, with a 3-year-old daughter, a black American woman running a Korean logistics empire. I don't know what to say. Say yes. I thought about Minho, his dismissal, his cruelty, the way he'd made me feel small, and where I was now. Yes, Julian smiled. Good, because I already ordered new business cards. He slid them across. Simone Reed, Chief Executive Officer. My name, my title, my power, earned, not given, not stolen, built. If you've ever had to choose yourself over someone who was using you, comment, "I chose me." And if this story resonated, subscribe for more powerful stories where women win. 5 years after the boardroom. Zuri is 7. Smart. Fierce. Beautiful. Why don't I have a dad? We're in Seoul's Namsan Park. Saturday. Ice cream. You have a grandfather. But other kids have dads. I choose my words carefully. You had a biological father, but he wasn't ready to be a dad, so he's not part of our lives. Do you miss him? No. Did you love him? I thought I did, but I was wrong. Love doesn't hurt. Love doesn't use. Love shows up. She thinks about this. Papa Julian shows up. He does. So he's like a dad. Better. We sit, watch families. I don't feel sad. I have Zuri, my father, my career, my peace. Everything I built myself. Minho is in Singapore. Remarried, I heard. I don't care. He's a closed chapter. And my story? Just beginning. Power doesn't announce itself with violence, it announces itself with a signature on the right contract. I signed mine in a boardroom while he was kicking me out, and I became everything he thought I couldn't be. Not revenge, justice. Stories like this don't end with closure. They end with freedom. If you've ever walked away from someone who underestimated you and built something better. Subscribe to see what happens when women choose power over pain. They told me leaving would be hard. They were wrong. Staying would have been hard. Leaving was liberation.